Yo, what's up everybody? Jumpin' yeah, and I am back on some Nioh 2, and today I'm going to be showing off my brand new build, which is actually kind of complicated. I don't even know what to call this. This is a Odachi slash dual sword versatility, corrupt dip, super tanky, almost unkillable at times, amazing build for the depths. There you go, that's basically it. But this is a lot of fun, because I really love using versatility, and if you actually remember it, if you've been following me, I did make a Dream of the Demon versatility build, and I did use that build to go through Dream of the Wise as well. So that was a very good katana slash Odachi build. So that's kind of like what I wanted to do, but then I decided I wanted to use the dual swords because I definitely thought the dual swords were going to be better than the katana right now, mainly because I really like the new move that they added for dual swords, which is Rising Dragon. Now, obviously, I'm also using Moonlit Snow Redux, which is an amazing Odachi move that they added in. It's so much faster than the original Moonlit Snow, but Moonlit Snow, the original, is still a very good move, and I do use it with this as well at times, mainly just to build up a versatility stack. But the way I like to play this build is I like to try to get 7 stacks of versatility as quickly as possible, which I will be showing the combos I like to do to go ahead and get my versatility stacks up. And then once I have 7, when the 7th one is about to run out, I'll go ahead and use another move, get to 8, and then when the 8th one's about to run out, I'll go ahead and do a move and get to 9. So that's normally what I like to do. And by the way, the co-op that you see here, this is just a blue grave that I summoned. It's not a real person. So I want to point that out. But as you can see, I'm doing some crazy damage against him. And what I like to do with this build is I like to use the Odachi versus the human bosses, and then I'll use the dual swords versus the yokai bosses. Because a lot of the yokai bosses, especially in the depths, because everything you're going to be watching here is from floor 25 plus, so I believe the second clip might be 26 or 7, but this first clip was floor 29, and then the final clip is going to be floor 30, and I actually do show that in the video. But the thing is that the dual swords are extremely good at making you tanky as you attack. Because of the Mystic Art, you can get some extra defense, and that actually is crazy, because when I fight some of the yokai bosses, like the ones that hit really hard, if I'm using my Odachi, I can actually just lose almost all my health or be one-shotted at times. Where when I'm using the dual swords, they actually tickle me. And Rising Dragon can just be insane for DPS. It depends, honestly, on the boss. Some bosses you kind of had bad tracking, and some enemies as well. Sometimes it can have bad tracking, but against the Giant Toad, for example, this is an extremely dangerous boss. If you let him do his thing, he will absolutely destroy you and one-shot you. But if you can get on him and stay on him, you can absolutely lock him up and keep him stunned. And there is something really annoying that they added to a lot of the bosses on Dream of the Nioh. It might be a DLC thing, I'm not sure. Everyone complains about it though, and that is the backstepping. A lot of the bosses will backstep, and that's extremely annoying. Where with Rising Dragon, if you keep doing that, you're going to stay on them the entire time. So even if they backstep, you're kind of lunging towards them, and we have so much anima charge, we're able to just keep them stunned and destroy them. This is another boss that's extremely dangerous if you let him do his thing. But if you can stay on him, you can just absolutely obliterate him. Now, this is floor 30, so it's the final floor. To be honest with you though, that doesn't mean all that much, just because of the fact that sometimes, depending on your luck, because there is RNG with the depths, floor 26 can be way harder than floor 30. It happens. But still, I mean, this is Kasha. She's not really difficult to fight, but she's annoying because she likes to move around a lot. But with dual swords, I'm able to stay on her and just destroy her super, super quick. And with the new patch that came out, they did make it so that the bosses now actually have less ki. That was definitely a problem where trying to actually drain the ki of some of these bosses before was an absolute nightmare, especially in co-op. And speaking of co-op, this is a great co-op build. I've been able to use it with 3 players or 2 players doing these higher floors of the depths, 20 plus. And I've been able to actually just straight up carry people. I hate to say that, but it's really been the case. I've had times where my teammates will die and I'm able to just stay on the boss and finish the fight just because I'm so tanky with those dual swords. But then again, if it's 3 players, that can be rough just because of the fact that the damage, I mean, it's insane on how much health that some of these bosses will have. And right there, that was a good example of like, I had the 8 stacks and I knew, okay, let me finish him off and get my 9th stack. That way I can get the most damage for the final fight. Now this is Mizuki, so this is an extremely easy fight. But I will say, I kind of wish I would have used the Odachi for this fight, because that's something I've been doing now with this build. Because the dual swords, Rising Dragon, Mizuki, and Kazuki, for some reason, the tracking is just not good on them. It's honestly like the body shape, I think, that matters when it comes to Rising Dragon. So like with them, they have this kind of awkward body, and you'll notice it as you watch this. I'm kind of flying past him at times where I don't feel like I'm actually hitting him properly like I do against like other bosses like the Giant Toad, you know? That's a really awesome boss to fight with this build, at least with Rising Dragon. It's ridiculous. But still, you know, it works, and pretty much destroyed him as well. Alrighty guys, well that's going to do it for the gameplay. Now I'm going to break down the build for you, tell you everything you want to know, and I will put timestamps, so if you want to skip around, go ahead and skip around. Now first things first, let's talk about my stats, but I do want to point a couple things out. I have 7,400 attack on my Odachi, I have 7,300 on the dual swords, I have 10,000 life with 12,000 defense, and I have the AA toughness on this build. So offensively and defensively, I love the stats on this build. It works out to be really nice, where I can do a lot of damage, and I'm also extremely tanky. Now, let me break this down. I have 200 stamina and 200 strength. Those are my damage stats. I have remodeled both my weapons to scale with stamina and strength, and I transformed my dual swords so that they will primarily scale with stamina instead of skill. I have 150 constitution and 150 magic for ultimate magic and ultimate constitution. I definitely love ultimate constitution. I think it's great, especially for what I'm doing with this build. And of course, ultimate magic is just quality of life. I am not using ultimate courage. For dual swords, I would say you just don't need it. And that is because of one of the mystic arts, and I would definitely recommend Mystic Diat for the dual swords, because both of the mystic arts are extremely good for the dual swords. The Odachi, the mystic arts really aren't that great. But I will say that, yes, you will use Ki pretty quickly with the Odachi, but I don't really have a problem micromanaging it with the Odachi. So I don't really think you need Ultimate Courage at all for this build, but I know everybody loves it, and for dual swords, you just really don't need it at all if you're taking advantage of the Mystic Art. But I do have 50 heart, and that is because I am using Baku as my primary spirit, and you do need a lot of heart if you want to be able to take advantage of everything that Baku offers. But also I want to have higher Ki. I have 1500 Ki. That's pretty good. I'll take it. I have 10 dexterity. That is just so I can equip 3 quick change scrolls because they can save your life. I didn't even level up skill at all. And all my leftover points, which there was not many of them, went into courage. I wish it could be higher, but 27 is all I can get. Now, let's talk about something that is extremely important for this. When you're talking about a versatility build, you have to talk about the moves, and you have to talk about what you like and what you don't like. And you also want to have backup moves. The backup moves are really just meant for when your brain melts and you have forgotten what you have done and what you haven't done. You can always just say, you know what, I'm going to use my backup move because I'm just not sure. And you know for a fact you haven't done the backup move yet because you never do that move. Now, one thing that's really important for this is flash attack. We're using 2 weapons, and flash attack is awesome. Now, first of all, it's really stylish. When people see you doing flash attack, I mean, you just look like a badass. I'm going to be honest. I love the flash attack with the Odachi as well. It's so good. It hits hard, and it looks cool. I mean, I love it. The dual sword one, I'm not a big fan of, but it serves its purpose. But here's the deal about flash attack. Flash attack will give you a versatility stack, and it goes both ways. So if you flash attack from dual sword to Odachi, that's 1 stack. And then if you flash attack from Odachi to dual sword, that's another stack. So that is epic because you can get 2 stacks from this. So definitely you want to have flash attack and you want to practice it. It can take a little bit to get used to, but once you master it, it is so awesome. Now when it comes to like all of the things I went for, I got a lot of passives here. I will be breaking down the moves that I like and my backup moves, so don't worry about that, but I do want to point a couple things out. One is, my melee mastery on this is 38. This is my mystic art I'm using. It's honestly like, okay, I guess. The other one is completely useless because I'm not actually using any of those moves at all. And I do want to point out Taki arts, because you can get this on dual source as well. This is 12% damage, by the way, but the enemy has to be full health. Now on the Odachi, this is pretty decent because the Odachi can hit really hard. But on the dual swords, this is a complete waste. Do not get this, okay? And in fact, it's just better to save some points. Also, I want to point out that I do like corner bore for the defense, because when you're critical, you might die. This can kick in and save your life. But when I'm critical and I might die, I'm healing. I'm using an elixir, so to me, corner tiger, I just don't think it's worth it at all, so I don't put points into that. Now let's actually quickly talk about dual swords. For this, melee mastery, I have 39 into this. Both of the mystic arts are extremely good, so you definitely want to have both, and you want to be using mystic Diat. That's really, really important. Now, I'm going to go to skill customization. That way, you can actually see some stuff. I am going to be talking about Spinning Dragon. I was calling this Rising Dragon. I apologize for that, but I don't know why I was thinking that's the name of it. But one thing I do want to talk about is Impermanence Strike, the perk. I'm not going to be talking about any other perks, okay? So you can just see it on your screen as I scroll through. But on Moonlight Snow Redux and on Spinning Dragon, these are like my main moves I go to once I have high stacks of versatility. I spam these moves. So I definitely like this perk because of the anima game. That way I can span my yokai abilities. So I think that's really important, and that's something that you definitely want to have on. But I'm going to go ahead and now quickly show you some of the moves. So we have Spinning Dragon, we have Sign of the Cross. I do Sign of the Cross a lot. I know some people are going to be like, wait, what? But I am not using Water Sword. Here's my problem with Water Sword, just real quick. My big issue with it is that when the enemy goes out of key, I would do it. And the problem is that they would just get up so fast that I just felt like, honestly, just doing Spinning Dragon was just as good. So to me, I stopped using it. And because this is a versatility build, I want to be able to use a move really quickly that's going to hit. Windstorm is quick, it will hit, and I like to go to Sign of the Cross after doing Windstorm. So that is something. And this is a backup move, so if you just don't know what to do, you can just do that as a backup move. This is also kind of a backup move, although you can take advantage of it at any point. In fact, I thought this was a low stance only move, so I wasn't using it for the longest time. But yes, you can do it from any stance. Gotta Win, this is a backup move as well, but this is a very good backup move. And also, Mortal Flow. This is another backup move that we can go to if we need to. Now for the Odachi, Twin Moons, this is one of the main ones that we're going to be using. It's a great move. And of course, Imperative Strike is very good. This can hit very hard. It's kind of slow, but the great thing about Odachi is that you get a lot of poise and like toughness where you don't get stunned. You just don't get stunned with these moves. So that is awesome because you should be able to get them off and actually be able to get your stack. Moonlit Snow Redux, obviously this is amazing. This is what we're spamming whenever we get high stacks. Now, believe it or not, Swirling Snow is a backup move. This is definitely my go-to backup move for the Odachi, because whenever I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? I always just do Swirling Snow. So I try to save it for that purpose. But also, as a backup move, I use Moonlit Snow. I can just go to mid stance and do this, and there you go. And also, I can always do this Charging Bull move as well, as a backup move. So now, I'm going to show you a little bit more gameplay, really, because I want to show you me actually doing my go-to combo that I like to do. And if you do like this combo, you can build up your versatility stacks extremely quickly with this build. You can do it both ways, by the way. You can start with the dual swords, or you can start with the Odachi. It's totally up to you, but you'll get the idea on the moves I like to do and how I like to flash attack to go ahead and get my stacks built up extremely quickly. Now, starting with the Odachi, I always like to start with Moonlit Snow Redux, then I'll go into Twin Moons, then I'll do Imperative Strike, and then after Imperative Strike, I like to Flash Attack to switch to Dual Swords. Now I'm going to do Spinning Dragon, and I can go ahead and do the Key Pulse attack as well, which I don't recommend. Then I went ahead and did Windstorm, and then I always do Sign of the Cross after Windstorm. And after doing Sign of the Cross, a lot of times I will then Flash Attack back to the Odachi. And at this point, I'm going to absolutely destroy Guzuki, because remember I was talking about that. I think the Odachi is just much better against Mizuki and Guzuki. And also, this is my alternative Soul Core setup. I'm going to talk about that later, but this is the one where I'm using Guzuki. My other setup, I'm not using Guzuki, and I do like this setup as well. Alrighty, well now, let's talk about the gear, and I'm going to start with the Grace bonuses that I'm using. Because this is a versatility build, obviously we are using Grace of SUSANO, and this is actually really awesome. I like it, of course, because of versatility, but I also like that minus 6% damage taken. That key recovery speed is nice. The increased defense purification, I'm not a big fan of. Same with Izanagi, you get the same thing. The duration of that defense buff is really short in my opinion, and I can't rely on that for a defense buff. So instead, I just use Steel Talisman, and I think that's fantastic. But this gives versatility, so obviously that's going to give us a lot of damage. So that is epic, and we are using 5 pieces with that, and basically it's the entire armor. The entire armor has it, and with the -1, we get the 6-piece bonus. And then, the other thing we're using is the new one from the depths, the tanky one, which is the Oh Yam Grace, which I can't pronounce that correct, but you get the idea. But you get this from the depths. I think it's floor 6 onward. So anytime you're doing the depths, you can get this to drop. And this is awesome. I used this in my last build. I use it in this build. I'll probably use it in my next build. I think I might do my Tonfa Tank build, if you remember that from like all the way back in Dream of the Strong. But the point here is that this is an amazing tanky setup, because this gives you life, it gives you guard key recovery, it gives you minus 8% damage taken, it gives you damage taken halved unscathed, which is the Honda clan effect. That's why everyone is in Honda, is because that effect is so great. And in the Honda clan, it's only an 80% chance of triggering. With this, it's a 100% chance of triggering. And with Ultimate Constitution, and with a lot of health regen, basically, this is always active. You're always taking half damage when you are at full health. We also get 30% life, which is absolutely awesome. Having like a huge amount of life, like 10,000, will definitely keep you from being one-shotted most of the time, even in the high levels of the depths. And then finally, we get 14% melee damage, which is respectable. It is definitely nothing to just look at and say, well, that's crap. No, I think that's great. Now, one thing about this Grace, though, I will say, if you ever want to just use the 6-piece of this, that's fine. Just get the life, and then you can go and get another 7-piece. So there are a lot of things you can do with this Grace. I like it a lot. But now, let's actually talk about my weapons. So as you can see, these are my dual swords. I did put the transform bonus stamina on this. That way I can remodel it to have an A- stamina scaling, and I have a B strength scaling. I have Mystic Diat dual swords. That's the most important star effect you gotta get, because you definitely want that. I went ahead and put melee key damage on this, and I also got lucky and I got a star effect for the attack bonus stamina. Now what's really interesting about these, this is the dual bloodstained cleavers. I did refashion these so they look different. But what's cool about these is that they come with melee damage versus 0 key enemy. That is the only thing that can stack with other damage bonuses. So these are interesting and unique because this is one of 2 weapons that can come with that. And the other weapon, guess what? I'm using it. It is the Bloodstained Blade. It also comes with the melee damage versus 0 key. And with this one, I got the star effect for attack bonus strength. So that's awesome. I got the life drain active skill star effect, which I don't really care too much about. But honestly, the difference is we actually have more room on the Odachi than we do on the dual swords. Because with the dual swords, we have to put that transform bonus stamina on there. So that's wasting a slot. Where with this, we don't need that, so instead we have the melee key damage, and we also have the corruption accumulation, which I do like having that on there, so that you can build it up quicker. Now, my ranged weapons, honestly, I'm just really using the rifle, and I have damage bonus agility, so you definitely want to have that. As long as you're a B agility, that's all that matters. Just go ahead and use that. On the cannon, I have enemies defeated, so technically, if you're running through like a long level, like, for example, if you're playing through the underworld or the depths and you're collecting all the buffs, you could technically put this on and you'll get a bigger bonus from having the enemies defeated A instead of the agility A. But definitely for bosses, you want to have this on. Now, when it comes to the armor, I'm just going to quickly talk about the star effects that I have and kind of the ones I recommend. The main one I definitely recommend for the helmet is the Anima Charge melee attack. That's really, really good. I was able to actually also get the key on here, so that was really nice. And let me actually quickly talk about farming, because I know some people want to know, like, what would I say when it comes to, like, getting this and farming for it? What I recommend doing is, first of all, you need to, like, go ahead and forge whatever armor you want. In my case, I went for the Governor's armor because I do like that damage taken critical, because whenever I go critical, I can actually potentially survive an additional hit. That's what I want, because I'm going to heal. I'm not going to stay critical. I'm going to heal, but I want to be able to survive. And this armor, it is heavy armor, which I wanted because I knew heavy armor was going to give me a lot of nice defense. Now, Veteran's armor, which is medium armor, is also good. But to me, I'm not a big fan, at least in the depths, of Veteran's armor. Because if you're attacking and you have that minus damage taken while attacking, that's very good. But if you're not attacking and then you get hit, I was getting one-shotted consistently in the higher floors of the depths. Where with the Governor's armor, the heavy armor, I was not. And when I was going critical, I was also surviving some additional hits. So I definitely like that more. But the Hairy Caterpillar helmet, I do like. It gives you that minus damage taken mid-attack. That's nice. But what you want to do to farm, by the way, is you want to just forge your armor, like the Governor's armor, the Hairy Caterpillar helmet, and then find a scroll that you can go ahead and farm, like the Susano Grace, and try to get some drops. Once you have the drops, then you can go into the depths. Now, as you're farming through the depths, you're going to find a lot of this OEM Grace to drop, okay? If you're doing floor 6 onward, you will get it to drop. And you want to put all of that on your weapons, I would say, your ranged weapons, and I have it on my accessories. On the armor, I'm using Susano. Now, if you don't know, as you're playing through the depths and you're farming that, basically, you're going to get a lot of drops of whatever Grace you currently have equipped. So even if you're using like really crappy OEM stuff, you're going to get a lot of OEM stuff to drop. So this is an easy way to get more drops of this particular Grace. And you'll also get a lot of Susano to drop. So you can get a lot of that. So I definitely would say do a scroll of the dam to actually get what you're looking for initially. Then once you have it, go and farm the depths. Even if that means doing like lower floors, like 6 through 10. Or if you're doing like 10 through 15. You can just go ahead and farm that. I think it's great. But let me go back to the star effects. Helmet, definitely Anima Charge, melee attack. I think on the helmet, that's like the one thing you definitely want. You can see everything else I have on this. Chest piece, there's actually a lot to say about the chest piece. Now, I have Sentience Charge. If you're using a yokai weapon, a corrupted weapon, you gotta get Sentience Charge. That's super, super important. The life is super nice. Mainly because, remember, let me actually go back, we get a 30% bonus. So any life increase is super good. But on the chest piece, you can also get minus damage taken star effect. I think that's also extremely good. Same with increased defense when you have 0 ki. I really like that defense buff. If you're looking for an easy defense buff, that's an easy one, especially if you're not using ultimate courage. Now on the chest piece, you can also get minus elemental damage taken, and of course you can get life recovery and Marita absorption. In my opinion, you want to get both of those. And when it comes to like a damage stat, I wish I could have actually go ahead and put on maybe like melee damage unscathed or active skill damage, something like that. Because instead I went ahead and put on attack. And for the attack, I don't think that's nearly as good as like 5 or 6% melee damage. But that was a mistake that I made and I can't go back now. And I just can't get a good chest piece. I would like to get one that's better. Maybe one that comes with what I have here, but also that minus damage taken. And if I got that, I wouldn't even put any type of damage stat on my chest piece. I would just leave it alone, let it all be defense. Now, gauntlets, what you really want is you want that melee attack key consumption. I definitely think that's a really good one. Also, if you can get the star effect for attack, I do think that's good as well. But in my opinion, the most important thing is actually that faster movement speed, Nioh magic hit. You move really quickly, and if you're using familiars, you can easily slough the enemies with the familiars because on our accessory we have sloth Nioh magic hit. So we slow them down and then we move faster. So we can just run up behind them and get some really good damage. So that's what I would definitely recommend on the gauntlets. On the pants, I definitely would recommend Sentience Charge. You gotta have that if you're using the corrupted weapon. But also I have auto life recovery. I like that a lot as well. If you can actually deplete your ki, which we can easily with our Odachi, it's not a problem. That is a pretty decent life recovery. I like it a lot. So I would recommend that. You can also get the minus damage taken on the pants. So if you can get that, that would also be very good. And then finally on the boots, I would say dodge range up is really good, but also extended dodge invulnerability I think is really good. I really wanted to get that, I just couldn't get it. But you can see the rest of all my stats I have on this. I went ahead and put some life on this, by the way, just so I can have 10,000. Just because I wanted to have that really nice, good-looking 10,000 number, because it was like a random like 9,800 something, and I thought that looked like kind of dumb. And if you're wondering about my focus levels, I'm not going to show them, but mainly I went for attack, and I think I went for a little bit of life just to get that 10,000. Now for my accessories, these are actually pretty good in my opinion. I have Sentience Charge on both of these, and if you are using corrupted weapons, it's a problem. It's a problem when it comes to accessories because it is ridiculous the amount of RNG it requires to get a perfect accessory. Because essentially what you want is you want Sentience Charge. On one of the accessories, you want to have that Sloth Nioh magic hit. You want to have melee damage versus really whatever element is fine. In this case, it is corrupted enemy, so that's really good. And then the final thing you would need for a perfect one is melee damage versus zero ki enemy. That would be perfect. But the chance of that happening is so low. So this is close enough. And you can see the rest. I did put corrupted accumulation on this. I have the lucky drop armor because I'm always farming. I'm never not farming. But I would say if you want to take that off, I would actually go for the minus elemental damage taken, because that can definitely make you more tanky versus elements. Now this fan I have, it has the -1 on it, so you definitely have to have that. Either a Yazakani would be good, or you can get it as a star effect. I have the Sentience Charge, and I have the melee damage versus scorched enemy. Once again, if I had melee damage versus zero ki, this would be perfect. But that's just so hard to do. Maybe a Yazakani can come with it, but the thing is that Yazakanis, it's like, they know. They know to never give out 3-star effects on a Yazakani. I rarely ever see it, and when I do, they're always crappy. And I do have Lucky Drop Accessory, I always want that on, and I also have the Corrupted Accumulation on this. And by the way, with this Wise General's Pillbox, I could put on Life Recovery and Rate Absorption, so maybe I would do that instead. But I just remembered that. And obviously, if you can get a really good Yazakani, you could put Life Recovery and Rate Absorption on that as well. Scroll the Dam. Now, this is a really great one for me. I'm not using Ultimate Courage, so I don't have to worry about that, but this is so perfect. I have Ultimate Strength, Ultimate Magic, that's what it came with, Ultimate Constitution, Sentience Charge, Ultimate Stamina, and Path of the Demon. I love Path of the Demon. It gives me extra duration for my status enhancements. I don't really care about the ailments, that's fine. I don't mind them lasting longer. But I am all about making my buffs last longer. But this did take a lot of work to get. It takes a long time to get a really good scroll like this. The Ultimate Stamina, was it really necessary? Maybe not. I don't know. But I did want to get it just so that it would be perfect. Now, let's talk about my main Guardian Spirit. I'm using Baku. My secondary is O, and I'm using that, and I can't really show it, but it's O. So what it does is that it gives you life recovery and Marita absorption. And I think it's like 15, it halves it when you're using it as a secondary. But Baku is great. Obviously, this is really good for the corrupted accumulation, the melee damage versus corrupted enemy. If you get a lot of heart, you can get that anima charge. It is super, super good. Now, this is my setup I was talking about, my alternative setup, where I'm using Gozuki. And after using this like a lot, because I wasn't using Gozuki for the longest time, but I will say that this is really good versus like enemies and definitely human bosses. This is so great. I really do love Gozuki. But when you're fighting some of those really dangerous yokai bosses, like White Tiger, for example, or like the giant toad, I talked about that before, you can really lock them up with the Impa Datara. Where with Gozuki, I could not lock them up like I could with that. So I want to make that clear. I do actually think the other one is better, just because you can lock up those dangerous bosses. And trust me, those bosses are dangerous. If you can't just get on them, start doing your Rising Dragon, it's Spinning Dragon. I always want to say Rising Dragon. But if you can do Spinning Dragon and then spam your Impa Datara, you will just keep that boss locked up where it cannot move. Where when I was trying that with Gozuki, I could not get that to work. But I do love this roll. This roll I have on this is awesome. I have attack. I went ahead and just put this on there. It has increased attack yokai ability hit. So this is just nice. If my Carnage Talisman wears off, this gives me an attack buff. I really like it a lot. And I also have the anima bonus corrupted enemy. You always want to have where it says increases anima in proportion to the base damage dealt to the enemy suffering from this status effect. You always want that. That's the good one. The other ones are crappy. This is my Nightmare Bringer. I have anima bonus confused enemy. This is extremely good because if you confuse the enemy, you will then go ahead and get a ridiculous amount of anima back. I have attack on this, the high attack, so it's 66. The yokai ability damage feral is crappy, but I do like this core a lot. And then finally, I'm using Yasha. Mainly, this actually does give me the attack. Everything else is garbage, honestly. But Yasha is pretty good. If you want to go ahead and just quickly put some water on an enemy, Yasha's not bad. So I would recommend her. You can't get an anima bonus on this because it comes with anima bonus water attack, which is really garbage. But this is a nice little setup that you can do if you want to use Gozuki. Now, just quickly, let me go ahead and switch over to my main setup. I was going to start actually with my main one, but then I forgot. I think I must have loaded the wrong one. But now, let me go ahead and show you my main one. So my main one is actually Impa Datara. This is like what you want to spam. This will lock up those yokai bosses. It is awesome. I also have increased attack yokai ability hit on this, so that's cool. Melee damage versus watered enemy. I have anima bonus corrupted enemy. I put this on there, so that's really awesome. And this one, this could be better because I could get another effect on this, but I needed to get the -1. You have to get -1 on something if you want to pull this setup off. So that's what I got. And this came with an inheritable on it, so I just went ahead and put the anima bonus Amarita absorption, which is actually pretty good in my opinion. And then finally, I have Kasha, which like I said, this is my favorite soul core. I really do like it a lot. I use it all the time versus the enemies, so I can just quickly set them on fire. I went ahead and put attack on this, but I also have faster key recovery, yokai ability hit, so that's really cool. And I have anima bonus confused enemies, so that's just super, super good. So that is my soul cores I am using, both setups. Like I said, the Gozuki one, in my opinion, is better if you're going against humans, and I think it's better when you run through the level. But versus like bosses, especially in the high level depths, if you get some of those really dangerous yokai bosses, I just don't think Gozuki is as good because you can't spam it nearly as quick as you can the Impa Datara. Now, let's talk about my magic and my one ninja. Obviously, I'm using quick change. I have 3 of them on, and this is the only ninja I'm using. Now, when it comes to my actual magic, I have 3 water familiars on. I have 3 lightning familiars on. These are great. I can apply water really quickly or lightning with these. I use Kasha to apply fire. I also have Nightmare Bringer if I wanted to apply anything. But Nightmare Bringer isn't like that good at applying to a lot of enemies. Some enemies, he's great. You can instantly confuse those enemies. But other enemies, it's always best just to use Kasha for a quick fire on them enemies. And I have the Extraction Talisman. It's super good. Definitely want to use that. I have Carnage Talisman. I'm only using 2 because I don't really care about the buff. I use it mainly for the boss battles. But yes, it does debuff you. But in the Underworld, if you actually get the life regeneration buff, it will dramatically decrease that debuff that you have. So you barely actually have the debuff. Carnage Talisman, I think, is really good. Steel Talisman, I'm using 2 of these. Honestly, this has a really good duration. It's almost as long as Extraction. It's not as long, but it's almost, so it's really nice. And we are using Barrier Talisman. I have 4 of these. These are just too good. You always want to use those. And I believe that is it. There are other talismans that are good. One would be Lifesteal. I wanted to kind of give that an honorable mention because Lifesteal will absolutely, completely destroy human bosses. This is so great against the human bosses just because they cannot get their key. The yokai bosses can go into Dark Realms, so it's not as good against them. But if you're struggling against human bosses, you can throw this on, and this will absolutely destroy the human bosses. Now, let's talk about the clan, because that's obviously important. We are not in Honda, because we don't need to be in Honda because of our grace. So instead, we went ahead and joined this clan, which I cannot pronounce. But this is great. This gives you minus 16% damage taken in co-op. I play a lot of co-op. That is amazing. But the other effect is also really, really good just all the time. If you're not in co-op, it works. If you're in co-op, it works. I love it. What it is that this is protection purification. So whenever you do a purification, and the barrier talisman does work with this, you will get a protection talisman for free. You get the buff. And it works just like a protection talisman. For 51% of your maximum health, you will take 0 damage. So in my case, it's like 5,100. I take no damage from that. And with all my defense and stuff, this is amazing. Against a lot of the yokai bosses, the moment they spawn in, they will leave a yokai realm. And we can purify it. We get that protection talisman, and now we will take no damage for a little bit. This is a very good clan, and if you don't have to be in Honda, in my opinion, this is the way to go. Unless you just exclusively play solo, maybe you can go for a better offensive clan in that case. But if you do like to play co-op, I definitely would say that's the clan you want to join. Alrighty, well, I think that's everything. I can't really think of anything else to talk about. I think I have covered everything I wanted to really talk about. And yeah, this is my Odachi / dual sword versatility. Super, super good in the depths. Really stylish and just really strong and tanky build. Yes, that's a mouthful, but that's the best way to describe this build. I really do like it a lot. I think it's a lot of fun to play, and I would definitely recommend this build. If you like Odachi, if you like dual swords, give this build a try. You will not regret it. It is super consistent. It is super good. I would really appreciate it if you guys could actually go ahead and like this video for me. That definitely helps me out, and that would be awesome. And of course, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, make sure to click the bell. That's really important on YouTube right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope that everyone has a very nice day, and peace out.